What I want to talk about this afternoon is a real good optic made by a company named Trijicon. It's called the ACOG. It's a 4-power rifle sight, and it's a pretty good piece of gear. It does have one or two little idiosyncrasies that you need to know about if you're going to use this either in combat or in competition, as I do. It's what's referred to as parallax free on the vertical axis. That is, when you look through the sight and you see the reticle, the crosshairs, if you will, your head placement up and down is not critical. However, head placement from side to side on the horizontal stadia is very critical. It is not parallax free on the horizontal axis. And what that means is, if you look through the sight and you move your head around, you will see the crosshairs move in relation to the target. Now, vertically it's not a problem. Horizontally it is a problem. And to keep yourself from getting lazy and not using the same head position every time you mount your head on a weapon, you can use a paper reinforcement, a little white. You can buy these at any office store. I found them made out of plastic, which is actually better because they don't deteriorate in weather like the old paper ones used to. These are pretty good. The proper way to put this on an A4 is to look through the optic and line up. As you look through the scope, you'll be able to see a black shadow in the bottom half of the scope that is actually the front sight base. Line up the vertical stadia line directly in the middle of the black shadow, and then place the paper reinforcement or the plastic reinforcement, as the case may be, directly over the crosshair. You would then use this little white ring as a rear peep sight, centering the crosshair directly in the white aperture. So it keeps your head in the same spot every shot, which helps with the cheek to stock weld and the cheek pressure on the weapon. And do you need this shooting very close range? No, but if you're doing something that's precision long range, or you're worried more about just not a body hit but a V-ring hit in the center, this is a real good addition to any ACOG. What I want to talk a little bit about right now are different holds using different stadia lines inside the ACOG. This is a TAO1, so it has a crosshair reticle. There's no chevron. And the different combat targets that are used. It's, without getting real in depth, there's a main stadia line across the center of the scope, and that's to be zeroed at 100 yards. And when you zero that at 100 yards, that's a dead-on point of aim, point of impact hold. Directly underneath that line, there's a 200-yard stadia line that is shorter and bisects or intersects the lower portion of the horizontal or vertical, as you were, a stadia line. Below that, there's a 3, a 4, and a 500 stadia line too. Now, the widths of those lines correspond to a 19-inch wide target at those ranges, so you can use that as a little bit of a range-finding reticle. Now, in shooting competition and precision types of things, there are different holds that are used. My eye, they're getting old. I'm not young anymore. I have a hard time finding that 300-yard stadia line quickly in a cluttered combat-style target. So I use the main stadia line at 100, 200, and 300, and everything closer than 100. So 0 to 300, I'm using the main stadia line. Basically, it's point of aim, point of impact at 200, and at 300, I hold over. And I know right where on the target I would need to hold over. And I count this. I use different colored ink to draw where I put that line at different ranges. 300 main stadia line, you can see the blue line on the different styles of targets. That's where I put the main line. 100 and 200 are represented by black or by red and black lines respectively. And this is a quick and easy card that you can put on your buttstock if you're going to use this in this style of shooting. It's a quick reference when everything is crazy and the range commands are flying and you're trying to remember what you have to shoot next. Pop on your card. I'm at 200. I use this line. That's where I hold. And when they say fire, you're right there.
I've known that a lot of the sniper community doesn't use the same types of wind calls or wind charts that some of us with the shooting team use. I've seen that these cheats, as I like to call them, work a little better, a little faster, and are a little more easily understood, and I'd like to discuss that with you today. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about what it's going to take to put a shot reasonably in the center of an E-type silhouette target with M118 LR ammunition. And then we will talk about how to do that with M855 for your standard M16. What a lot of us use is a very basic wind rule. And how I remember it is 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10. What does that mean? At 300 meters, if I have a 10-mile-an-hour wind, or the velocity is 10 miles an hour, I need to put 2 minutes of angle of wind onto the gun or onto the sight to be able to have a center shot. So at 5, I need to put 4 minutes of angle. At 6, I need to put 5 minutes of angle. 8, 7 minutes of angle. 9, 8 minutes of angle. And 1,000, 10 minutes of angle. Well, you would note that I don't have 700 in here because primarily competitive shooters do not shoot from 700 meters. But it's real simple. Between 8 and 6, 100 meters, I can look over here and know that 800 is 7 minutes of angle and 600 is 5 minutes of angle. I can brilliantly deduce that if I was at 7, it would be 6 minutes of angle. No worries there now, is it? This particular chart is extremely successful, especially back to the 1,000 meters. What do I mean? Competitively, we shoot at an 10 ring that is 20 inches round. Well, what most people may not realize is that a E-type silhouette is 19 3/4 inches wide. My 10 ring is 20 inches wide. Hey, that's only a half an inch difference. And if I can shoot a 10 99.9% of the time with this rule, I stand to submit that I can hit an E-type with this same rule. Let's talk about how to utilize a slightly different rule with the M16A2 or the M16A4 or the M4. With that particular weapon system, we are using M855 ball. That weapon is primarily effective out to 500 meters, primarily. So what we're going to do is we're going to understand that if I'm at 100 meters, a 10-mile-an-hour wind will move me 1 minute of angle. If I'm at 2, it'll move me 2 minutes of angle. 3, 3 minutes of angle. 4, 4 minutes of angle. 5, 5 minutes of angle. So what I'll do with my hand is I will say, if I'm at 200 meters away, it's 2 minutes. I then look at the adjustment that my weapon system has, and I know that on an M16, my rear sight is graduated in half minutes of angle. So if I was at 300 meters and I had a 10-mile-an-hour wind, I know that it would require me to put 3 minutes of angle on the gun. Every click is worth a half minute of angle. I just simply do the math, put that amount of clicks onto the gun, and I should expect, with proper application of the fundamentals of marksmanship, a very reasonable center hit on an E-type silhouette. And that's pretty much all I have to add to this. For the most part, we just remember 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10. And that'll get me a hit 99.9% of the time. I am engaging an E-type silhouette with 118 LR in a 7.62 caliber rifle. And I remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes of angle for the M855 ball with a 10-mile-an-hour wind. Now, if I had a 5-mile-an-hour wind, I would cut that in half. If I had a 15-mile-an-hour wind, I'd add a half. If I had a 20-mile-an-hour wind, I would multiply that by 2. So by using a 10-mile-an-hour constant, it allows me to add or subtract depending on a 5, a 15, or multiply it by 2 for a 20-mile-an-hour wind. And for the most part, those are the velocities most of the time that we're going to be dealing with whenever we want to take a shot.